Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining in today. We are on episode 13 of the KCS Greenville sub. And today we are going to have some footage in the background of the staging yard for the KCS being built. We'll briefly talk about the staging yard, but then most of the conversation, or the narration today, will be about some of the operations of the railroad, since, there's not a whole lot to say about a staging yard. But yeah, we are looking at a 12-track staging yard. What it is 6 tracks on the eastbound side and 6 tracks on the westbound side. I did decide to have them terminate and originate at the same spot on the layout. Originally, I had this big sweeping idea that kind of rounded off in a 3/4 circle, but then decided I didn't like that because some of the tracks, obviously on the outside, were just incredibly too long. But the rule with my staging here is I needed each track to be 2,500 feet. And that's because the trains that run across the route are 2,500 feet. All the locals that run on the route itself, that originate on the route, and any of the UP interchange trains, which there are 2 of them every day, those are limited to 1,500 feet. But we've got several trains, a maximum here of 10, and I'll talk about those in just a second, that can run from east to west across the Greenville sub here. And those 10 trains can all be up to 2,500 feet. Now, I may not make all of them 2,500 feet, even the ones that just go through and don't have any work. I may make some of them a little bit less, but also there are 2 trains that will actually do work every session on the route, and JMRI will determine how long they'll be. But here's kind of the scoop. So I've only got 10 trains that need to run, but I've got 12 tracks available. So that means I've got 5 trains theoretically that would run east, and 5 trains theoretically that would run west. But to be honest, there's actually only 2 trains from staging that you as an operator would be obligated to run, and that is the 2 manifest trains. So there's one that goes east and one that goes west, and these 2 trains have work in Hugh Springs, which is where the main yard is on the sub. So of those trains, they've got 2,500 feet. They only ever will give a maximum of 2,000 feet. So the 500 feet at the rear will all be reserved and will never actually be set out because they're kind of sitting behind a DPU. And I made a video about how to do that to create cars that can't be set out on your railroad using JMRI. And so it allows you to basically set out certain cuts and things from the train. And, in our case, we're leaving the part behind the DP. We're leaving that part of the train in the back there. But also we've got 2 other general freight trains, but they are simulating freight trains that run directly from Shreveport to Dallas and don't have any work in Hugh Springs. So those trains, as of right now, I'm not planning on having them do any work in Hugh Springs. I might change my mind and I might have them give maybe 400 to 500 feet max of their train, but I highly doubt I'll do that because I just don't need to. I've already kind of done the math on inputs and outputs, and I don't really need any extra capacity coming from these trains. But then there's also 2 intermodals, and these represent the Shreveport to Dallas intermodal train that normally runs each day on the Greenville sub. And I don't have the symbol for it because once CPKC became a thing, they changed the symbol. I don't remember what it is anymore. But in the KCS days, it was the M- and the MSH, or not the M-. It was the IDAAT. And that was one of them, and then you had the IATDA. So it was the intermodals that went across the Meridian Speedway. So we've got those here. And then I've got a grain train that will originate, and it will go to a terminal on the railroad itself, actually. But that grain train is going to go back to the staging where it originated each time. And then I've got a frac sand train, I've got a coal train, and I've got an automotive train. So for right now, those are the plans. Those trains will not have any work except for the grain train. It'll go to an industry. That industry will be able to, kind of hold and receive the entire grain train at once. But what that does is by having that grain train only go one direction and back, it makes it where some days in the staging lineup we'll have, 4 trains going west and 6 trains going east, or vice versa. And some days we'll have 5 and 5, and it gives the opportunity to kind of simulate more traffic or more demand in one direction. And that is exactly why I have 12 tracks of staging instead of 10, is so that I can also do that with some of the other trains as well. Not the 2 trains that actually do work, but some of the through trains. So that means I could stretch it to as far as like, 3 and 7. 3 trains one way, 7 the other. And that just adds a lot of operational flexibility, and I'm really excited about doing that. It's my first time doing that from staging yards. And you can do that since it's staging to staging and there's not really too much work. It's not going to really affect the balance of car movement on the route. But for multiplayer sessions, these run-through trains will be great ways to get operators busy while you're building trains in the yard. So single player, yeah, you kind of run them if you want to, but if you ever decide to use this route for multiplayer, since it will be on the DLS for free, and therefore eligible for that, you can do that if you'd like to. So I definitely intend to do that at some point. But so we don't really have too much more left here, so let me just kind of go through a couple of last things. But I'm really excited about getting this one done. Once I get the staging yard finished, I will go ahead and put a new version on the download station here in the next week or two. I'll get a post on that when it's up and everything, but that's kind of the big news for right now. And then I plan on doing some operating sessions soon. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying the route in its current form, but definitely look for some new updates moving forward. We'll catch you guys next time.